Hi, everybody. Welcome to another. How's the week in cell and gene therapy been for you? And other stuff we'd like to talk about. And alternatively, Audrey and Chaudhrey,
My
the
favorite one.
show. We'll talk about that. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, CEO and founder of AG Capital Advisors, Audrey Greenberg. And also, as I have to say every time, prior to that, founder and CBO at Center for Breakthrough Medicines, which is now SK Pharmtech.
Founder
And we,
forever.
yeah, always. And we are going to talk about what's been happening in the cell and gene market. And as you can tell, I'm in New Orleans this week because actually it's
It looks
pouring down.
just like New Orleans.
Exactly. Because I've been here for ISCT 2025 and it's pouring outside my window. Literally is floods of water running on the go. I had to jump over a huge puddle, which if I hadn't made the jump, I would have been knee deep in water. So I'm very pleased that at my very elderly age, I can still make that jump. But forget about all that. We are going to talk about CNGT
No,
this week
no, I
and
want to
some of
wait. I want to hear about ISCT. What's standing out there? What was the vibe on the ground?
the vibe on the ground. I think is they had over 50 talks. When I say talks, I mean panel discussions, I should say, as well as loads of tracks and lots of interesting conversations. I think the general feeling was the talks were fantastic. Everyone found them very useful, and they talked a lot about commercialization and funding. Um, the quality of the visitors seemed to be very, very good. Um, the exhibition floor definitely felt quiet on the first day, and they did have this weird thing that it started at 11:30, the exhibition, then went on till 8 o'clock that was a bit quiet actually on the first day.
Hmm.
Second day though was actually much busier from my perspective. I thought it was busier anyway, and I think others did as well. And today actually it finished at 3 o'clock, and yeah, it seemed fairly busy, not super busy, but fairly
And
busy. And
does it go to Saturday? I thought no, it
I
ended
think they've
today.
got some special sessions tomorrow, which
Okay.
I think is a separate part of the conference, which you may have to pay extra, I'm not sure. um, And also they have their very big gala event at the Mardi Gras Center, which I won't be attending sadly because I'm not a Mardi Gras sort of guy. Even though
Yeah.
someone looked at me and how I was dressed and said, I'm dressed for Mardi Gras, which I was a bit upset and insulted that she thought that I'm wearing all orange with a dolphin's cap, but I am dressed for Mardi Gras, which was a bit embarrassing, and I did feel a bit, really? Am I looking that bad today? But anyway,
But
that's
you get to spend a whole nother week down in New Orleans because you're going to ASGCT next week. So are you
and
going
the
to be
full
there this weekend? Do you have good plans for the, no?
I'm in Boston this week because I'm
Oh,
preparing to go to Pegs, and I'll be at Pegs until Wednesday morning when I will get an 8 a.m. flight to back to New Orleans. And the weather's supposed to be better in New Orleans next week because
oh,
this
good.
week it's been raining and lightning storms and thunder apart from one day, which was yesterday, which was a glorious day. And it is a problem when you're trying to decide what you're going to wear and what you're going to take, though, because you take a nice raincoat to stop the rain, but then you're sweating like a hog, really, because the humidity is very, very high. So, and
As
I've
we
got to
say,
say,
schwitzing like a chazer.
exactly. And
Anyway.
also, the hall was absolutely freezing today. I don't know why. I wish I'd had a coat on while I was in the exhibition halls today, because and the people who were in where the posters were, it was freezing in the where the poster hall
You
was.
know
But
what? I hate that because it's always so hot outside and you're sweating and you go in and it's freezing and your sweat evaporates. I almost need to move to Europe, I think, where there's no air conditioning or something.
yeah, although I would say in some European events it can be extremely freezing, and I'm sure a lot of exhibitors would tell you that as well. So particularly those who have to for hours in a cold hall. But yeah, it varies. But no, overall, I think the vibe was that it was and is, but still going on today with the gala dinner and some sessions tomorrow. A very good event. Next year's event, I've been told, is in Dublin, everybody. So it's going to be
Okay.
at the Dublin Convention Centre. Very different. So it's going to be there first week in May. I haven't got the exact dates in front of me, but that's what I've been told. So if you are planning to be at ICT next year, plan to be in Dublin and enjoy that. And the weather will pretty similar to New Orleans as it was this week, because it mostly most probably will be windy and raining. So at least you'll get used to it by having been there this year. So yeah. And actually, I'm very pleased. We'll talk about it maybe a bit later, but I got to meet. Um, Tom Whitehead from the Emily Whitehead Foundation. So I got to interview him. So look out for an interview with him. And I also met Tay Salimullah, who is at 4Biocapital, who used to be at Novartis Gene Therapy. So we had a little chat about what are investors looking for, which obviously was reinforcing what you were saying to me, Audrey, in one of our earlier sessions
Well,
a
I
couple
love
of
both
weeks
of
ago.
those
So
people. Tom Whitehead is an outstanding individual, and obviously his daughter was the first pediatric
yeah,
patient
exactly.
dosed with and you know, it's just an interesting time to meet people that are trying to advance the therapies forward for patients in need, and the Whitehead Foundation is doing just that. So good for them.
Yeah, they're very good. And also, for those people who know Riley, who's obviously at Facilitate, he was kind enough to do a little recap of the event because he's far more qualified than I am to talk about what's actually interesting at the event.
Ah,
So
well,
he
that's
actually
good.
gave me a recap of what he thought some of the things were for this year's event. So again, look out for an interview that I had with him where he talks about that as well. So and also,
Well,
if you
I
didn't
will
know,
like and comment on all of your
Audrey,
posts.
you always do. You're a superstar, as I do to you as well. So let's keep looking after each other. But viewers, the other thing is, if you don't know, Facilitate is going to be in Saudi Arabia next year.
What? No
So
way.
they are. So they're going to be in Riyadh. I can't. In fact, if I look at my phone, which is in front of me, he did actually send me the dates. And let me just have a look. It's not very good on a live interview to be doing this, but let me tell you
Well, I
that
love the facilitate events while you're looking that up. And I think it's so interesting what's happening in the Middle East right now. There's a huge focus on advanced therapies, and Saudi Arabia has a plan. I think it's the 2030 plan. And
you're
yeah, and they have a lot going on. So I would love to go to that.
and you've taken the words out of Rye's mouth. Actually, because that's
Ah,
exactly
see?
what he was. That's exactly
Well,
what
I
he's
am
saying
on
to
the
someone.
advisory board,
Yeah, well, it's in
whatever that
Riyadh.
means.
It's in Riyadh in Saudi Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the 20th or 23rd of
Hmm.
April 2026. So,
Okay, not too
uh,
hot. I like that.
yeah, so there you go. So check that out as well. So anyway, enough about me because really it's not about me, Audrey. It's about what news you've seen in the CGD space and, of course, in life science pharma and biopharma in general. So, what's been happening, Audrey?
Well,
What
it's not
news
about
has?
me either. It's not about either. You know what it's about this week? CBER.
All
And we
right, well,
have,
tell me more about CBER
yeah,
then.
so the FDA shakeup, Vinay Prasad is the new officially the head of CBER, replacing Peter Marks. And depending on who you talk to, I did a post on this. There were, I would say a majority thought it was pretty controversial, but there's a few supporters. It's probably both. Look, there's a need for reform in the FDA, but is it the beginning of regulatory retrenchment? I don't know. Here's what I'll say. On the positive side, Prasad has been calling for more rigorous evidence-based approvals for years, and you can look at his LinkedIn and see all of his posts about just that. He's pushed hard on the idea of accelerated approval and surrogate endpoints that don't always translate to real world benefit. And frankly, he's not wrong. So, in the first town hall that he had with the FDA this week, he actually struck a more balanced tone than I expected. He said, quote, innovation must be coupled with credibility. Our job is to protect public trust and scientific advancement. That's not a flamethrower. That's a grown up take. So, on the positive side, but it's a real but. He's also said that CAR Ts should only be used in salvage settings and that the FDA has become too cozy with the industry. If that skepticism shows up in how cell and gene therapy trials are reviewed, especially in rare diseases, we could see a chilling effect. So I'd frame it this way: the appointment raises the bar, and the question for cell and gene therapy isn't whether we panic, it's whether we're ready to meet the bar. If we bring the data, the rigor, and the patient outcomes, we can thrive under his framework, but we have to pay attention. So
But
that
would
was,
you not?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to try. I was
No,
going to
no,
say,
go
but
ahead, go ahead.
would you not say though that what he said, and I haven't followed him, so I'm not going to comment about his background. But would you not say, as a layperson listening to that, I would say surely that's what should happen to make sure that those therapies, when they come to market, are suitable for the patient at the end of the day. And sometimes, as a layperson, again, listening to the market and the excitement every time another therapy gets approval and then suddenly maybe fails at a later stage, you do wonder, is it just too fast because everyone's so excited that they want to get to the end very, very quickly? So, I would, I don't know him, and I've never really followed him, but I would say any end, maybe he's playing to the gallery a little bit, but most patients would mostly agree with what he said to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, with real world evidence, which I think is something he's focused on, if you only have a patient population of 100 patients worldwide, you're not going to get much real world evidence. So I think,
That's true, I suppose, yeah.
yeah, so the
But would you not
application is
think that?
hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
but would you again though say that surely in that case, the FDA and he should be looking at adjusting the sample sizes to what real world evidence means for different therapies. So as you said, if there's only 100 people that you could sample in that place, then the bar should be lower for that particular therapy than to perhaps another one. I
I'm
don't know.
hopeful that the FDA will be logical in their approach going forward. And you know what? The truth is, we just have to pay attention and see how it plays out. So
Right,
that's
cool.
good.
Now, what are the other stories which
Yeah. So
caught
on the
your
yeah, on
roving
the
eyes this week?
On the manufacturing side, we're seeing a tale of two markets. AstraZeneca, we love this announcement, just opened a $300 million cell therapy manufacturing facility in Maryland. That's
Yep.
big. It's a confident play. It's designed to be, by the way, fully integrated and scalable. And by the way, US based. And it sends a clear signal that CGT capacity building is still happening at scale. But we have to be honest about what's happening across the rest of the map. In the last, I think it's in the last year, Thermo closed two sites, one in Princeton and the former Brammer facility in Florida. And then AGC, if you remember, idled most of their CGT ops in Longmont, Colorado. And then Rentschler shut down their UK CGT site in Stevenage to
Yeah,
focus
they
on
did. Yeah.
to focus on biologics. Add to that, Bristol Myers Squibb shut down Libertyville, Illinois, which was their viral vector site, and former Novartis facility they bought to support their cell therapy pipeline. So what we're looking at is, I would say, in looking at all that, is not necessarily a pullback from cell and gene therapy, but I will call it a strategic correction. So the winners are sites that are purpose built and cost efficient and scalable, and the others are being phased out, which is painful, but ultimately it's just the maturation of the infrastructure behind the industry.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and on the clinical side, in terms of scientific progress, there's sort of three things I'd point out. One is Aspen Neuroscience dropped 6 months of data from their Aspertro trial, which is an autologous iPSC-derived cell therapy for Parkinson's. We love the neuro indications, and it's showing early signs of safety and feasibility. Big win for cell therapies, so we like that one. Second, and this is near and dear to my heart, I'm on the Penn Medicine Abramson Cancer Center Innovation Advisory Board, and Penn Medicine published results from their enhanced CAR T platform lymphoma, which reduces T cell exhaustion and increases potency, which is proof that CAR T is still evolving and not, as some people say, plateauing. So we like that one. And third, this is great too, CRISPR Therapeutics announced positive top line data for CTX310 targeting ANGPTL3. It's not directly CGT, it's a CRISPR therapeutic, but it shows that gene editing platforms are starting to deliver real clinical results. So, and the positive results, and this matters for the sector confidence. So those three things are something that I wanted to highlight. And then, of course, on the capital side, just quickly, there's a one story that stood out, which is, I think, a strong signal. Haya Therapeutics raised 65 million in Series A to develop RNA-guided medicines for chronic and aging-related diseases. That's a big bet on aging and epigenetic reprogramming, and shows that even in a selective market, strong science and big visions are still getting funded.
Well, that's fantastic. Audrey, as always, I'm always amazed at how you can come up with these recaps so succinctly. Genuinely, I know you make it, I say it like that, you might think I'm being sarcastic. I'm not, I'm genuinely saying
Yeah.
that. So it's fantastic news.
Yeah, and I would just say one other thing on the regulatory side. While a lot of the narrative this week is what we talked about at the top, which is the uncertainty, I would say there's two clear signals that cell and gene therapy is still moving forward with the FDA. So Opus Genetics received RMAT designation for their OPGLCA5 program for an inherited retinal disease. And then second, Capricor's DMD therapy just completed its mid-cycle review with the FDA, a it's a tough indication and a meaningful step. So we've seen a new CBER lead, but the machine is still moving and still supporting breakthrough programs. And then just this afternoon, ASGCT dropped their late breaking abstracts, and it's just in time for where you're going to be next week at ASGCT. So we can dig in further next week. But overall, in terms of announcements, the Vinay Prasad changes the conversation, but we are full of tailwinds in cell and gene therapy. Trials progressing, facilities opening, capitals being raised. Yes, some facilities closing, but for reasons that ultimately strengthen the sector. So we're in the phase now where the bar is higher, scrutiny is definitely sharper. We're seeing that. And that might be exactly what the industry needs to scale and scale with discipline.
Excellent. Well, that's fantastic. And I
Yeah.
think it does concur with some of the talks I've had this week with some people as well. So that's great to hear. Now, in terms of events, obviously ASGCT is coming up next week, which I will be at, but unfortunately, I don't think you will be, will you?
I
Uh,
am actually starting a new position on Monday. I know, drum roll, but I will announce it in the next couple weeks. But unfortunately, it means I can't be at ASGCT, just getting up to speed there. But definitely going to be a bio in June, and I'm speaking on I think 3 panels or something like that. So that'll be fun. Are you going to bio? You said you were
I
not.
am going to be,
Oh,
no, I
good.
am going to buy it. So I will be at Bayer, all being well, obviously. I hope to be there anyway.
And
You never know,
Monday
do you?
night, the bio Monday night, if you're a member, I'm on the board of Alliance for Regenerative Medicine. If you're not a member, join because their Monday night party at bio is not to be missed. It is the event at bio. So join, become a member of ARM. They're incredible advocacy organization that has amazing events like Meeting on the Med and Meeting on the Mesa. And I think their party at bio is very fun.
There you go. So if you're not a member of ARM yet, make sure you do and be at the party with Audrey. And you'll
Yes.
be in all her pictures when she shares
Yes,
them
you could be
after
on
it.
my LinkedIn post.
Exactly. Fantastic. All right. Anything else you'd like to talk about? I mean,
Uh, well, I have my embarrassingly my 25-year Wharton reunion next weekend, so I'll be going to that. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm sure I'll be posting about that and on a panel or two there. But that's in Philadelphia, and I get to see a lot of old friends. So most of them, not most of them, but some of them work in biotech, so it's fun to catch up with.
and actually,
Yeah.
while you were saying that, I just struck me that one thing we didn't talk about last week, and I can't remember if you posted it last week or or this week, was you talked about sponsorship within the
Yes.
workplace. Now, I know it's not
Huge.
strictly about CNGT, or it's not even strictly about pharma. It's just about making your way in life and
Yeah.
making your way in business. So, for people who maybe didn't see that particular post, I thought it was a very interesting post actually. He got lots and lots of comments, I know, and lots of traction. What do you mean by sponsorship, and why do you think it's important in the workplace?
Yeah. So everyone talks about mentorship, but sponsorship I think is even more important. And it's essentially, I'll summarize it in a very interesting way. What does someone say about you when you're not in the room and when it matters? So, like for example, this position that I got was through sponsorship, and most of the positions actually at the executive level, and sometimes even at the entry level. I mean, I met somebody yesterday at this entrepreneurial organization based in Philadelphia who works at, she got the position through sponsorship. So it can happen at all levels, and what it means is, look, you people always say don't burn any bridges, and that's sort of the negative side of it, but the positive side is you want people that are going to advocate for you, that have your back, that not only do it with others but help you as well. And ultimately, raises, promotions, new jobs, board seats, they all happen through sponsorship. And so the more that you can integrate with folks that will um, advocate for you and on your behalf, the better you'll be in business and the more, I mean, that's the best way I have to describe it. So seek out sponsors and make sure that they understand what you bring to the table and why.
So I've got a question, further question to you based on that.
Yeah.
Because you are naturally, or maybe not, maybe you developed it, I don't know,
Yeah.
quite an extrovert, networking sort of person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for those people who are naturally introverted, but are obviously very good at their jobs, but they just are not that sort of people person to push themselves in front of, and I don't mean like brag, but I mean and push themselves and get that. How do you get to be sponsored? How can you sort of engage with people so that they start to become your sponsors?
Yeah. I mean, your best sponsors are going to be people you work very closely with that know what you bring to the table, are those that have seen what successes you've had. So make sure you stay in touch with those people. And, there was an individual I worked with at a very early age at Deloitte when it was my first job out of undergrad. Stayed in touch with him through the years. He not only helped write my application for, or my reference letter for business school, you needed, I think, 5 reference letters. He was one of them. But very important. And they have to do that under lock and key. You don't get to see that. And he also continued to just be my sponsor, whether it was getting on boards or um, introducing me to people that were influential in my life. So you have to sort of find the people that know your quality of work and are willing to go to bat for you. It's not a stranger that you meet at a conference, although I
No,
suppose
I'd
it
say
could be.
sure.
Yeah. And
All
so
right.
I don't think it really matters how extroverted or introverted you are. And sometimes I actually think that the more extroverted you are can work in your disfavor. But in the business setting, like at Morgan Stanley and some of these places I worked, like the biggest slogan they had was like, just put your head down and do your work. So, they don't want extroverts, they want workhorses. So if you can, and then as you get to the executive level, I think being extroverted is more important, perhaps because you're expected to bring in business or raise capital or close clients as you move up in your career. So maybe that helps in terms of being extroverted, but certainly having a wide network helps and one that you can tap into and can help you in your success.
All right. And I've got one other thing I'm going to talk to you about is because I happened to be waiting for a coffee in the queue and I heard two ladies talking about panel discussions and
Okay.
how the panel had five guys on it and
Oh, I
no women
know.
on it. And in the current climate where diversity is perhaps not encouraged, let's put it that way, um, do you think that there'll be a bit of retrenchment in terms of cell and gene, in terms of, I mean, there's women in pharma, there's women in cell and gene, there's women in that. I mean, there was a lot of women in groups, quite rightly, by the way. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been.
No, it's a great question.
Do you think that is gonna be discouraged or what? I mean, because obviously, even legally, now the wording is changing to make it. I mean, GSK stop the diversity program because they want to work in the States, and they would said, well, actually, we want to do business in the US. We can't have this program any longer. So how do you think it impacts all those different things that have been going on positively over the last few years within life science, pharma, and biopharma?
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that this is happening, first of all. Second of all, I think that in some companies where it's part of their culture, they're just going to rebrand what it is and change the wording to whatever the catchphrases of the day. And then I would say, in terms of panels, I mean, look, more and more, I think women represent more than 50% of the global population. You can't alienate that profile and it is offensive when you walk for me in particular when I walk in and I just see a bunch of guys when I know there's a bunch of qualified women, it's upsetting. So, don't alienate people, play to your audience. Diversity also is important for making decisions in a fast moving environment. it's good to understand points, counterpoints, different things that could, not just in terms of gender, but in terms of career background and ethnicity and, all the different diversity factors that come. It's important for business. It's important for returns and performance, and it's important for innovation. So diversity matters, maybe not for legal reasons, and disguising it in new words is fine, but if you want to win, you need a diverse team.
I couldn't agree more, Audrey. And on that lovely agreement, we're going to end this episode. But viewers, if you join me in sunny New Orleans next week, obviously it isn't really like this. It's actually pouring outside my window, but
And I don't
it's
think
both.
there's many palm trees, are there?
There are a few
Are
actually.
there?
Yeah,
Oh,
I saw them.
okay.
Or maybe they weren't palm trees. They looked like palm trees when I was coming from the
Okay.
Louis Armstrong Airport. But regardless, I have to say the architecture in New Orleans is very unique and different as well.
Amazing.
Is it? As is also the vegetation and the trees. They're not things I see normally in other parts of the world, so they look
Yeah.
really cool. But
And
if
by
you
the way,
are,
the laws are very different there. It's like another country down in Nolans.
is it? I don't
It's
know how.
one word, by the way, Nolans.
That's New Orleans. I know, New Orleans. I know, I can do that. So if you are in New Orleans next week for SGCT, uh, it will be sunny, but I won't be with the lapping water on the beach, I don't think.
Mm.
But if you're there and you see me in my bright orange Mardi Gras clothing, as someone said, then make sure you come and say hello to me and we can have a
Bring him a
chat.
beignet.
Yeah,
Beignet.
Ben, yeah, and tell me actually what you think
And
of this.
go.
But and if you watch this, tell us what you think about this and how we can improve it, because we're always looking
Yes,
to improve. We'd
please.
love your feedback as to what you think and what else we could add to the
And
conversation.
to all the moms out there in the United States, happy Mother's Day. It's
And
Mother's Day on
actually, to
Sunday.
all the mums worldwide, regardless of what this Mother's Day,
Oh,
we
is
all
it?
love
Okay,
you.
good.
No, it's not Mother's Day in the UK. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter whether it's Mother's Day. You should say,
Oh,
we love your mum regardless, because who cares? You don't need a day to say that to your mother, do you? I mean,
everybody's got a mom.
and everybody should be loving them regardless. So there you go. So, but obviously, happy Mother's Day wherever you are, wherever never you celebrate it. But yeah, so and also if you've got any things we'd like to cover or any questions or any feedback, we'd love to hear it and put it in the comments below. And have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week, and we'll hopefully see you next week. As I'll maybe choose a different background if I can find one, and to talk about some more stuff around CGT. And Audrey, it's lovely to see you. Good luck with the new job. Hope it
Thank
goes really
you.
well, and we can reveal what that job actually is maybe next week or the autumn. I'm sure you're all excited to find out what's happening as well. So we'll find out hopefully next week or the week after. Audrey, I'd love to see you. Speak to you soon. Viewers, always a pleasure for you to join us. I look forward to seeing you in person somewhere in Europe or North America at some point this year. And
Yes.
until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye.